Hey, good morning. It's Steve. Let me get something out of the way real quick because I've been talking about this thing and a lot of people may not see what I have noticed here. If you decide you want to generate some electricity with coils of copper and magnets, and if you lay a coil of copper inside of a magnetic field in like an axial flux format, and you lay your magnets out to create a single field, one direction. Electrons, magnetism, it's in one direction. Then when you spin this thing, every time this coil attempts to create electricity, it also creates a magnetic field. So, let me ask you this. Do you see a lever arm? Do you see that this is going to go like this? And you've also created a lever arm. So you created electricity, you created magnetism, and you created a lever arm when you let go of the coils of wire. This thing I keep referring to as a Perigo. If you can see that, and if you can see this lever arm, you must be able to comprehend the fact that this has just been turned into a magnetic camshaft. And if you tried to hold on to what you call a stator, I call a Perigo, this thing would be fluctuating. Every 120 degrees, it would feel a force of magnetism that would cause it to rotate. So we've just created another means of applying an input, right? And if you're hanging in there with me and you understand everything I'm talking about with lever arms, in the world of generating electricity, magnetism is the byproduct. It's what reduces your input. From this point forward, I gotta refer to electricity as the byproduct. We're trying to get magnetic fields. If you see this camshaft that occurs because of Lenz's law, if you could see that camshaft, we gotta start fighting it magnetically. So think about it. If this input is feeling a negative rotational force on it, and this one is going like this, why can't we mount magnets out here? If this is creating a repelling force, we ought to be able to counteract it on this, physically located on this lever arm, in such a way that we take this Perigo and start putting it back into the magnetic field, whether it be attracting or repelling. But it does give us, now we got a whole new subject matter to talk about, and it's directly related to the shape of this coil of wire and the quality of the magnetic field that it produces in relationship to the strengths of the field that created it. Man, I apologize. I have a tendency to start getting... I'm solving a problem and I start analyzing it with my mouth open. But you have to realize, and I don't think anybody out there generating electricity today and understands Lenz's law would disagree with me that we have just created a lever arm. It's a means of implying a magnetic field, just like the other input we were given, wind and water. We now have... We can now start teaching everybody how to imply this magnetic field in a way that it reduces the feedback that occurs with gearboxes, Archimedes lever arms. It's a big. I think it's something that we should start talking about. And but you know, really, from once you see this lever arm, you'll understand that. Man, this road's going to require new terminology. That's why I called this a Perigo. It would be technically incorrect to refer to a coil of copper from this point forward as a stator. So man, let's like I said in the past, you're my victim, just like Casey. You're stuck in the break room with me, and I'm just rambling about the ways that I think that we can go about turning the wind or the water into something useful. So I got this lever arm. We have this lever arm out here that we can attach out here, a spindle or I really think it needs to be something that rotates at the moment, but I'm not sure. But if we just add one of them, then some of our, that's why I talk about this copper coil. If we're going to have magnetic indifferences between this field here that creates the effects of Lenz's law and what occurs out here when there's no copper involved. We are going to have a cogging effect. But even if with just one spindle, your input only has to get you past that cogging effect. So far, so good to me. That's why I make these videos. I need people smarter than me to help me show or do a how-to on. I don't know. I cannot theorize. I cannot take what I've been taught and tell myself I'm wrong. Not yet. But at this point, my mind is thinking that, okay, I have equalized everything. Magnetic field to magnetic field. How do we add another input, right? The only other input we have been giving, which is magnetism and a physical force from either wind or water. Now we see the lever arm over here, wherever, like I said, this is speculation. If we're going like this, we can add attracting fields, or we can put it over here and add repelling fields. So, man, I apologize. The wife knocked on the door of my little man cave here and has messed up my my magnetic chi here. But I think I was talking about, now that you see this lever arm, we can match as close as possible. We can match the field of magnetism created here, and then we can move another field of magnetism in and out to keep this thing inside the field of flux that created it. You know, so instead of using nuts and bolts to hold the stator still, we use magnetic fields to hold this Perigo in place. And the magnetism becomes the number one output. The voltage and the amperage will occur anyways. You don't have to hold this thing to create the voltage and the amperage. You can still get that by letting go of it. And even if we were able to get this thing to stabilize using a pinion mounted magnetic input out here, it's just going to keep this thing stable. We haven't added any magnetism yet. All we've done is fight the battle of equal but opposite to this point. Some of this magnetic influence is still going back to the input. So we got to decide, or I'm attempting to decide, if I add another one out here, it could be, you know, a fork like this. So something that is assisting the input in the act of rotation, right? It's just assisting it. So if this guy's going like this, instead of feeling the attraction the lever arm out here pulls this way and counteracts everything. At some point, we're going to create a cogging effect over here if we just keep adding magnets. Honest to God, you guys, I don't understand what this journey is I'm going on as I talk to Casey about it. But I don't think anybody has ever pointed out the fact that when you create electricity using coils of copper and magnetism, there are 3 outputs: electricity, magnetism, and a lever arm. There doesn't exist 3 outputs in the way that we generate electricity today. Because today we generate electricity. If you want to produce electricity, you have to use a lever arm. It's just a conversation I'm having with you. Some people don't know what I'm talking about and they bust my chops. Some people think I'm wasting their time. They bust my chops. Man, I really hope you didn't think I wasted your time. If you're still here, you're probably the only one. And if you ever wanted to know what the old salty Paul-tard was thinking about, hiding in the man cave on a cold day, this is what I've been thinking about. Camshafts, magnetism, and generating electricity. Adding inputs. You guys have a great day. I'm out.